I'd like to call to order the Milan Area Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. Would everyone please rise as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you to everyone attending this evening, as well as those who will be watching the recording. All board members are present, and student board member Heike is present as well. We will start with some board recognitions this evening. We're honoring our new teachers. They were all invited this evening. We do have some that joined us tonight, so I'm going to read over the entire list. We'll recognize you. We appreciate you folks being here. We're very excited that you chose Milan, and we appreciate you helping the education of our children. So we have Christopher West, who's high school science, Cody Benjamin, Paddock behavior specialist, who's here with us, Jill Wadowski, fifth grade TC, Sarah Vaughn, 6th and 7th resource room, Mary Hagley, kindergarten, who's with us this evening, Daniela Fay, 7th grade science, who's with us this evening, Abigail Collins, ECSC TC, Joshua Nowak, 6th grade ELA, Noah Penrose, 8th grade math, and Thomas Wall, 1st grade. So those are our new teachers. Again, thank you for being here this evening. We greatly appreciate it. Are there any board member comments? And then we'll take a short recess to recognize you and give you our appreciation. So other board member comments?
Mr. Sisler?
Yes, Ms. Gutierrez.
I'd just like to say welcome. I know some of you are from Milan and have been here for a long time, and some of you are new to this town, so just welcome, and we're glad you're here.
Others?
Mr. Sisler?
Yeah, Ms. Marie.
Okay. Briefly, same welcome to those who are Milan locals. We're so glad to have you on board with the district. That's amazing, and thank you for continuing to give back to this community. And to all the newcomers, welcome home. I worked here for a number of years, and now I'm here, and just hoping that you have a great experience in our district, and please always reach out and ask for what you need. Thank you.
Any others? All right. So,
Mr. Sisler, sorry.
Ms. Heike.
I thought you saw me.
Oh,
sorry.
I didn't see. I did see you, but then
We're all good. We're
okay,
good.
Ms. Heike.
I just want to say thank you to the three of you who came. I really appreciate you showing up for this. And it's always nice to put faces to names, even though your name I've known for a very long time. To everyone who lives in the district, thank you for working in the district that you live in and giving back. And to those of you who don't, I can help you find a house. But we really do welcome all of you and appreciate all of your giving to our community, because the school is the heart of this entire community, and so you are a part of that heart, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So we'll have Cody, Mary, and Daniela come on up. We'll take a little recess here, and you can shake the hands of the board, and again, appreciate you guys being here tonight. So, and then you're excused afterwards. You don't have to stay because we know you've been here. So. So yeah, thanks again for being here. We know you've had a full day already, so thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. So, all right, thank you so much. All right, we will continue on with a recognition for School Administrators Month. I need a motion to. Well, I'm going to read this first. Is what I'll do. So I've got a resolution here to recognize our school administrators for School Administrators Month. So whereas energetic and inspiring school leadership is essential in Milan schools are to prepare students for success both during their K through 12 careers and afterward. And whereas school administrators serve as educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinaries, community builders, facility managers, special program administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives. They are also entrusted with the educational development of young people. And whereas school administrators set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teachers and parents to develop and implement a clear mission, high curriculum standards, and performance goals. And whereas school administrators play a vital role in the success of students by creating school environments that facilitate great teaching and learning, as well as continuous school involvement. And whereas school administrators act as the liaison between the school and the community it serves, ensuring that parents and taxpayers are aware of student and school achievements. And whereas the celebration of Michigan School Administrators Month would honor elementary, middle level, and high school administrators and recognize the importance of school leadership in ensuring that every child has access to high quality education. And whereas during this month, we join with educators, parents, and students throughout Michigan to raise awareness of the importance of educational leadership, we also recognize and thank the hardworking school administrators in Milan schools who are set exemplary examples of service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Milan Area Schools Board of Education recognizes our administrators' commitment and proudly thanks them in the name of the community and the Milan Area District. Be it further resolved that the Milan Area School Board of Education strongly encourages all members of this community to join us in personally expressing appreciation to our administrators for their dedication and devotion to their work. So I will accept a motion to thank the Milan Area Schools administrators as recorded in the attachment that I just read.
Moved by Farrow.
Support by Murray.
It's been moved and supported to thank the Milan Area Schools administrators as recorded in attachment A. We just had one join us, Mr. Midland. Thank you very much for being here. And obviously, Ms. Bookout, Mr. McMahon. I will include Ms. Hendricks as well. All you folks that take a role in the administration of our school district, we are greatly appreciative. I am most humbled by everyone's attendance at the homecoming parade. I'm almost positive that was the first time that we had 100% participation by administrators, all administrators, at the homecoming parade. So, and I do joke. Mr. Midland, he got yelled out quite a bit, but there was quite a few Mrs. I's and shout outs for those folks as well. And to the high school's credit, most of their students were in the parade, so they couldn't get the shout outs during the parade. But it's always great. It's awesome to see how excited those kids are to see their administrators in someplace else other than school. And in the parade, I think it's powerful for this community, for our administrators to be there. And I thank them for attending and their commitment to the district, and I continue to thank them for choosing Milan. So, other board member comments? Yeah, Ms. Murray.
Just very briefly, I am always honored to vote yes on these resolutions for our administrators every year. We know how to hire them here in Milan, and we know how to raise them from our own ranks here in Milan. I just did a quick tally on the back of my notes here. I was an upper and middle grades educator for 16 years before I transitioned to my current role, and I served in that time under 13 different administrators, which is high, I think. Maybe, I don't know. But the best ones that I had were here. So it's an honor. Thank you.
Any others? Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, I just want to add, in my Sunday memo to the principals, I told them they didn't have to be here. I appreciate Mr. Midland coming. But they work enough late nights. I said, I told them they'd be honored, and then I'll share the resolution with them after this meeting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Any others? All right, so it's been moved and supported to thank the Milan Area Schools administrators as recorded in attachment A. As an attachment, in the attachment I just read as an attachment A. Miss Murray, sorry.
Thank you. Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heika,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
and motion carries 7-0.
Well, we'll take a small recess. We'll shake your hand as well if you want to, just to show appreciation. Yeah, you can just come down here. We'll shake your hand again. Yeah, walk the line. Absolutely. So. Thank you so much. And you are excused as well. We know you've been here all day. So, all right. All right. All right. Appreciate the commitment. That brings us on to communications and community engagement for public comment. A reminder that this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not to be considered a public meeting. There are 2 times for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. When addressing the board, you will be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted to individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items will be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to routine matters for approval. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 24th, 2025.
Moved by Burdette.
Support by Pryor.
It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 24th, 2025. Is there any comments or concerns? Seeing none, Ms. Murray.
Burdette,
Yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heika,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
and motion carries 7-0.
Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of September 24th, 2025.
Moved by Gutierrez.
Support by Heike.
It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of September 24th, 2025. Again, those are the ones that are in your transparent envelope. You can pass them in if you're good with them. All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of September 24th, 2025. Ms. Murray.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heika,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
motion carries 7-0.
Next up, I need a motion to approve the bills and reimbursement of expenses.
Moved by Pharaoh. Support by Burdette.
It's been moved and supported to approve the bills and reimbursement of expenses. Is there any discussion or comments? Mr. Burdette.
I just wanted to say that I did have a couple questions that I directed to Ms. Hendricks in relation to the check register and the P card charges that were shared for us. And she answered both effectively and efficiently.
Excellent. Mr. Farrow.
Yeah, I just want to echo, I had the same experience, no issues other than thank you for responding so quickly.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hendricks. Any others? All right, I appreciate the follow-up. It's been moved and supported to approve the bills and reimbursement of expenses. Ms. Murray.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heika,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
motion carries 7-0.
All right, next up, I need a motion to approve the Milan Area Schools 2025-2026 course offerings as detailed in attachment B.
Moved by Murray,
Support by
Farrow.
I have moved by Murray and supported by Farrell. To approve the Milan Area Schools 2025-2026 course offerings as detailed in attachment B. Again, this is an annual thing that we do. Mr. McMahon, is there anything you want to speak to?
No, it's just for pupil accounting purposes. It comes into year-end reports, and now with count being finalized, we just have to have it approved before then. What we have listed there is all the courses that our elementary students take, and then we reference the middle school and high school course guides because that includes all the courses, and then the additional courses we have in our auxiliary programs.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to the course offerings? All right. It's been moved and supported to approve the Milan Area Schools 2025-2026 course offerings as detailed in attachment B. Ms. Murray?
Heike,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right. Next up, I need a motion to approve the 2026 resolution to levy summer taxes as included in attachment C.
Moved by Fryer. Support by Gutierrez.
It's been moved and supported to approve the 2026 resolution to levy the summer taxes as included in attachment C. Again, this is an annual resolution that we consider in order to allow us to levy the summer taxes. It's a document that's written up by our legal counsel that allows us to levy those taxes. Anything further, Ms. Hendricks or Mr. McMahon? Ms. Hendricks.
Just for a point of reference, we only levy summer taxes in Washtenaw County. And actually Washtenaw is a split. It's 50% summer, 50% winter. Monroe County is 100% a winter levy.
Thank you, Ms. Hendricks, for that clarification. Any other questions or concerns? All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the 2026 resolution to levy summer taxes as included in attachment C. Ms. Murray?
Thank you.
Yep.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heike.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right. Now that we got through that business, we will move on to strategic plan business. And we do have a teacher appointment to consider. I'll probably need help with his name, but I need a motion to approve Brian Altvogt as the Paddock and Simons Elementary music teacher effective October 3rd, 2025.
Moved by Farrow.
Support by Burdette.
I have moved by Farrow and supported by Burdette to approve Brian Altvogt. Gotcha. Is that German? There, that's Paddock and Salmon's Elementary Music School teacher effective October 3rd, 2025. I heard some of the administrators talk about him at the parade. They're very excited. I know in reviewing his resume, he has a doctorate, I believe. So I'll let Mr. McMahon speak more to that, but that's pretty amazing to have somebody of that caliber for our young students. So, Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Sislo. This position is opened up due to a resignation of the previous teacher. We are really excited to have Brian join us. As Mr. Sislo mentioned, he's got a doctorate and it's like in the choir area, performing arts. He has taught public ed before. He started his career here in Michigan and then moved to Cincinnati to pursue the degree in post-secondary education. Now he wants to come back to schools. We went through the normal hiring practices here. And in fact, in this case, we added even a section where they taught lessons. And they taught lessons at Paddock and at Simons. And Mr. Midland, former music instructor himself, was there to help out with that. And as were Mrs. Ignagdi and Mrs. Schwartz. And I will say, I didn't get to observe the lessons, but coming out of it, the lesson at Simons was described as magical. And no one ever described any of my teaching as magical. So I was like, well, that's pretty great. And I got to meet him in the third round. He's terrific. We were really excited to get him on board here at Milan.
Awesome. Maybe the students will call him Mr. A.
There you go.
Any other questions or comments? All right. It's been moved and supported to approve Brian. Oh, I'll vote. As Paddock and Simon's elementary music teacher effective October 3rd, 2025. Ms. Murray.
Thank you. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heika,
Yes.
Murray, yes, and motion carries 7-0.
All right. Next up, in the area of finance and operations, we have a guest here, Dan Merritt from, now it's Raymond, right?
That's right.
It's not Raymond, it's Raymond. So, to provide us a first reading of the 2025 annual audit. So again, this is a first reading where Mr. Merritt will go through this with us, and then we will have the opportunity to ask questions today, but obviously review the audit in order to approve it at our next meeting so that it can be submitted to the state in the required timelines. So, Mr. Merritt, we appreciate you being here this evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Education. Thank you very much for having me. As previously stated, my name is Dan Merritt. I'm here for what I hope is the most exciting presentation of the evening, the annual audit. I don't know if I'll rise to the level of magical, but hey, let's see where we can get to. Perhaps I should wait for a second while we get the projector up and going. Oh, there we go. Okay. And yep, okay, I can go back and forth. Great, okay. So tonight we're going to talk about the engagement team, who's on the team, go through brief board communications. That's where I talk about the results of the audit. We'll have a couple of slides where we'll talk through financial results, including some brief discussions of the recently passed budget for the state of Michigan, which includes the school aid budget. And then we'll talk for a quick second about upcoming accounting pronouncements, which I also like to call the more work for Krista section. And then finally, I'll be more than happy to take any questions either during the presentation or at the very end. So up first, people on your team, this is my first year as the signing principal on the school district's audit. Previously, Mr. Daniel Clark was the signing engagement principal. I've been the audit manager for a number of years, but I've been lucky enough to take over as signing principal on a number of his jobs as he's moved to a different department, and I now do a lot of the audits. Raymond as a whole does approximately 50 K through 12 public school audits throughout the state of Michigan, as well as another 150 to 200 other local unit audits. So we do a lot of this all of the time. You can see also Jen Mahares, Ilka, Brendan, we're also all on the team and work carefully with Krista. Board communications, this is where I talk about how did the audit go? Was it a good audit? I should also point out that it was mentioned that the reports that you have today are draft reports. Usually we have final issued reports for the board at the beginning of October. The audit is effectively done, but I'll talk a bit more in a minute about why we can't issue audit reports yet, though we will start issuing them very, very soon. It all has to do with the state budget. First, an unmodified opinion will be given very shortly on the June 30th, 2025 financial statements. An unmodified report is called a clean opinion. That means we think that you can rely on them. If I said nothing else tonight, that would maybe be sufficient to give you 70% of the information you needed from us, that we think your financial statements are good, that they're clean, and have reached that level of assurance. So that's very good. That's the most important thing that we do all year. Second, one new accounting pronouncement was adopted in fiscal 25, GASB 101 for compensated absences. This means that Krista had to rework the calculation on compensated absences extensively, and you'll see in the report, if you were to peruse through it, some new amounts for that liability for compensated absences. They changed the rules on this. I won't bore everyone by going into it, but that accounting pronouncement was adopted and all the work related to it was completed for the district. Third, we're required to assess all of the accounting estimates that management makes as part of the financial statements. Some things you can't put an exact number on. Those things include the pension liability, the OPEB asset, calculations of depreciation for capital assets. Exactly how much of that building did you use up this year? We're going to guess about 1/40th, but it could be something different. We reviewed all of those estimates made by management and assessed them and deemed them reasonable. Fourth, if you ever have an auditor that tells you that they had difficulties dealing with management during the audit, big red flag. That's always a big problem. We, in our history working with the school district, have never had any significant difficulties dealing with management during the audit, and that continued to be the case this year. Fifth, we are required to discuss any material misstatements that we noted. There were no material misstatements in this year's financial statements. We did pass on one adjustment. They call those uncorrected immaterial misstatements. Those are almost always timing differences. They're something that we said, well, technically that belonged in this fiscal year, but we let you record it for practical expediency in a different fiscal year. This was actually an item that happened last year that we said you could record this year, so we continue to roll forward the effect of that for this year, and we say, yep, it's okay that it was reported this year and not last year. It was fairly small. It was related to a legal settlement matter, and so that has been fully corrected and through the financial statements, and it's just a matter of timing between two periods. Sixth, we're required to report on findings. Findings come in two forms: material weaknesses, the really bad stuff, and significant deficiencies, the sort of bad stuff, and then our recommendations that we think are important enough to reach like a written level. We call those other matters. You had no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no other matters. I call that a squeaky clean audit. Let's say if a clean opinion is an unmodified opinion, a clean opinion with no findings or other matters is a squeaky clean opinion. Now, that doesn't mean that we didn't make any recommendations during the audit. We almost always do. It'd be a pretty poor audit if we never made any recommendations, but all of our recommendations didn't rose to the level of we just felt we could tell you about them and we didn't need to write them up because they weren't significant or otherwise important. You're also required to have a single audit, which we expect to give an unmodified opinion on. The single audit is the grants audit. They call it a single audit because under uniform guidance, which is 2 CFR 200, federal regulations that govern getting federal grants, you get one audit for all of your federal grants, whether you get them from the Department of Treasury, Department of Ed, what have you. You had about $1.5 million in federal grants this year. We're just talking federal grants when we say single audit, not state grants. We expect to issue a clean report on the single audit. Every year we have to decide what is it that we're going to test. We can't test every single program on your schedule of expenditure of federal awards. So we kind of rotate through based on our set of rules that the Office of Management and Budget gives us. And this year we picked Child Nutrition Cluster, had no findings, no issues with compliance. So again, you're going to get a clean audit on your federal awards of federal grants. Very briefly, I always like to go over the balance sheet. So we'll start with assets and deferred outflows. I'll try to explain what those are, but they're really not that important. Most importantly, your cash went down slightly. Now, there's always some standard variation in what kind of cash the school district holds between things that are coming in as receivables and things that are going out as payables. You did eat into cash a little bit this year, and that is going to have an effect on fund balance. I'll get to that in slightly more detail in a moment. You'll also see that your net OPEB asset went up this year. That is a good thing, but is more about the state plan than it is about you as a district. I'll talk about that in more detail on another slide. You'll see that you reduced your net capital asset. That's primarily because you haven't done a bond issuance in a while. For school districts, yeah, you can buy some equipment, you can buy some chairs, you can buy a new generator, but for the most part, you're only going to see a big change in that capital asset number when you issue a bond and you start to construct or remodel or refinish significant portions of buildings. So you see that number went down primarily because we have to make an estimate for depreciation. We say you quote unquote used up some of your assets. When you start to build new assets, that number will go up again. And then I promised I would attempt to explain deferred outflows. It's sort of like a deferred tax asset. It's something that we made up to put on your balance sheet to smooth out the effect of your net pension and OPEB liabilities and assets. And I promise I'll explain what that is in more detail in just a second. But the GASB says you must smooth the experience on this. You can't just say, well, market performance went way up one year or market performance went way down one year, or accounting estimates for the total pension liability changed a bunch. You can't do that all in 1 year. So what do? We stick them on your balance sheet as outflows or inflows, and then we sort of smooth that experience into your bottom line number. Hopefully that explained a little something. If you have more questions, I'm happy to go into it. On the liabilities and deferred inflow side, so if the asset side is the things that you own or people owe you money, the liability side is money that you owe other folks. you can see that the district had slightly less in AP and accrued liabilities. Again, that's pretty much just normal fluctuation of what payables were open the end of this year as opposed to open at the end of last year. You had slightly less in state aid borrowing open. You had like $1 million as opposed to about $1.5 million. That's always good. A little bit less state aid borrowing means a little bit less interest paid, so that's a good thing. Unearned revenue stayed pretty much flat. Long-term debt, you paid down debt and didn't issue any substantial new debt, so your long-term debt number continues to decline and will continue to decline regularly until you decide to issue some new debt to construct some new assets. Again, I'll get into the net pension liability number a little bit more in a moment, but that did go down substantially, just like your net OPEB asset went up. And of course, you have some of those deferred inflows. We'll call those the made-up accountant lines where we're smoothing things into net position. All right, what is a net position? What makes it up? Well, net position is, let's call it the best estimate of the value of the school district, and that's made up of a couple of components. Your net investment in capital assets is a big chunk of it, because of course the school district has buildings and equipment all over the place that you use to serve students. That's a big component of it. You also have a restricted component. That's the remainder of grants that you have left to spend, right? Usually that's restricted for things like debt service or grants. And then you have a big negative unrestricted amount. How could you have a negative value or a negative equity? Well, it's because every school district in the state of Michigan has to record a massive net pension liability on their books. That's your little piece, your little share of the MIPSR's overall system liability. Maybe the most important thing to point out here is that that liability for the last couple of years has been going down. It went way up in 23 and it's coming down mostly because of good investment experience for the system. The system measures 9 months earlier than the school district does. So this is measured as of September 30th, 2024, and then gets into your statements June 30th, 25. So you can guess that September 30th of 25 performance for the system will be still good. You're going to get an even lower net pension liability again next year, because we already know that experience has been good through this September 30th. So if next year the performance is bad, your net pension liability is going to go up a little bit. Your required contribution has stayed pretty flat on pension and probably will until the mid-2030s. Around the mid-2030s, the state system will start to have less and less people in defined benefit plans, and that contribution will start to go down, and you'll start to have less that you owe ORS every month. Speaking of owing ORS a little bit less, you owe them a little bit less on the healthcare side. When we say OPEB, that's other post-employment benefits. That's almost always retiree healthcare. That's the biggest component of what makes up OPEB. For the first time, the last 2 years, every school district has a net asset because the system's actually fully funded. And you see that ORS has split your contribution percentages from being it was like 28% in total, and most of that was pension, and then the other 10% was OPEB, something like that, if I'm remembering the rates from last year correctly, and it's almost all pension now. So what is the state doing? They're saying, well, we've pretty much funded our retiree health care, so now we would like you to continue paying the same amount in, but we're going to put it all towards pension because that's still underfunded. So again, school districts won't start to see that that payment to ORS go down until the mid-2030s when both the pension side and the healthcare side are fully funded. So we hope that both of these reach net asset status sometime in the next couple of years. You say, Dan, how could you have overfunded the healthcare system? Isn't that bad that we've put too much money in? Remember, this is a guess. It's a big guess. And so you tend to put in a little bit more than you think you're actually going to need, so that if it turns out to cost more in the future than the actuaries think that it costs right now, we're still okay. We don't suddenly have a position where we all start having to put more money into the system all at once. So that's your net pension and your net OPEB liabilities. Moving on to talk about something maybe a little bit more applicable to operations. These are your major revenue line items for 2025. That top line there that you'll see is state revenue. You can see that for the first time in a little bit, state revenue kind of leveled off a touch in 25 and probably will continue to stay pretty level, maybe tick up a touch with the new foundation allowance. I don't know that I have a good feeling for exactly where we're going to end up on state revenue. The total state budget, which I'll talk about in a minute, is up. I'm going to guess we're going to be pretty flat to maybe just a little up in state revenue in 26. You can see on that black bar in the middle, that's your local revenue. That's property tax revenue. That's continuing to be stable and up and to the right. That's a graph that every accountant loves in their heart, up and to the right, and means that you have a very stable property tax base and that Milan continues to attract great people like your new teachers to the area and continues to have a good property tax receipt outcome. Federal money, on the other hand, is going down, and it's not going back up anytime soon. You're down from the middle of COVID, being at $3 million, $3.5 million even in 23 of ESSER money, etc., to a place where you're probably at about what you're going to get in future years. I don't think you're going to get a lot more than $1.5 million the next couple of years from the federal government. They're not looking to put out any new education stabilization funds. You're just going to get your IDEA payments, we hope, your state or your food service payments, we hope, and maybe a little bit of Title I in there, and that's probably about it. They're not looking to give out a lot of new school district grants at the federal level, so can expect that that line continues to be fairly stable at around between $1.5 million and $2 million. Revenues and expenditures in the general fund. We are basically talking about your income statement. So what do we want to see on your income statement? We generally want to see, as your accountants, that you spend less than you bring in. Past couple of years, you've been pretty flat. This year, you dipped into fund balance by about $1.5 million. This is fairly common for a lot of school districts in the state of Michigan. Less federal dollars this year meant that, unfortunately, a lot of times you had to eat up a little bit of fund balance to continue providing levels of programming for students that are necessary. I will say, as we try to think in context about, okay, so you said we ate into fund balance. How much did we eat into fund balance? Well, you're down from a high of about 19% fund balance in 2021 to about 7% fund balance in 2025. That's starting to get into the area that makes me as an accountant feel a little bit nervous, a little bit of an orange flag. Generally, I don't think that this is necessarily a terrible, terrible thing. You're not to concern flashers and lights area, but you are to a place where we start to think you need to try to rebuild fund balance if you can. So if we want to think about fund balance is like if you took your checking account and that was all of your assets, and your personal credit card is all of your liabilities, what you owe everybody else, the net of that is fund balance. We'd like to see you be at a place where you have a fund balance between 10 and 15%. That approximates about 2 months of expenditures, which you don't get state aid payments for 2 months of the year, so there's a good real-world correlation for that recommendation. So when you get down to like 7-8% fund balance, we start to say, be very careful about things that you give away in collective bargaining. Far be it from me, whose mom is a teacher, to ever say we shouldn't pay our teachers. Teachers deserve the world way more than we can give them. I always want to take care of our educators and our communities. However, the biggest expenditure for any school district is wages, payroll, and that is one area that school districts can get in trouble, is when you get into collective bargaining agreements and you give big increases, especially when you have a thin fund balance. I want to see the school district have a strong, sustainable fund balance position for many years to come and be able to take care of its teachers and fulfill its promises. So as you consider your budget, listen carefully to what your finance director is telling you. Be careful about trying to control expenditures, because you're not going to be able to pull the lever on revenue. You aren't going to have a lot of new money coming in, so the only thing you can really do is to be careful and control expenditures on the fund balance front. And that gets us into talking briefly about the school aid budget. Of course, we've had a school aid budget for about 2 days now officially. And we saw a nice increase in the foundation allowance up to a little more than $10,000 per pupil. We saw a lot of nice small increases to things like at-risk funding, continuing technical education funding, Special education, we also saw some things that I think we're a little concerned about when it comes to some of the requirements they stuck in on school meals. They said, hey, we'll leave school meals, and I think that's over here, universal meals untouched. It's continued and maintained. I love to see that. I love to see us supporting our students in that way. But it also means that they said you got to fill out an application for every single student, and we're going to yet find out what exactly they meant by every single student, or you lose 5% of that funding. So overall, the budget was an increase for public education in the state of Michigan. That's great, but within that overall increase, I think you're going to see a lot of levers pulled up and down by just a little bit. It's not going to be a huge windfall for K through 12 education in Michigan. It's just probably a solid budget that has some increases and some places where you took money away. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag. MSBO's analysis on it generally was they think it's pretty good. I would say listen carefully to the information that MSBO puts out. I think this is great because it means everyone's going to get state aid in October, and we're not in a situation like the federal government where people aren't getting paid. So by far, I think it's a very good thing that they were able to come to an agreement that we're going to continue to get state aid. Keep your ear to the ground on what MASB and MSBO puts out on this, because they're going to really give the details and specifics as the State Department of Education rolls out the actual policy on, or actual tasks and line items on this that go with the policy. And finally, what does this mean at the federal level? Congress has still got no budget. We still have no federal budget. So here's where I'm going to explain why you have draft reports and not final reports. Up until this week, the Department of Education for the state was saying no one that has to have a single audit can submit their audit because, well, we can't submit single audits because we have no compliance supplement from the federal government because they're 4 months behind. So you can't submit any of it. You can't submit your financial audit or your single audit. And then this week, MDE finally put out guidance that said, yes, you can submit your financial audit, do what you need to do because that's done. And then as soon as the compliance supplement comes out from the federal government, you have to issue your single audit within 30 days. I said earlier that the district is 98% of the way done with all of its audits. And so the financial audit will be issued in the next couple of days. And then as soon as they put out the compliance supplement, the district will also get an issued single audit. I don't expect there to be any delays on the school district's front of submitting information from an audit perspective as required. I promised the more work for Krista section. Unfortunately, Krista, I have to tell you, I don't think there's going to be a lot of work in the next 2 years. So you can take a deep breath. The next two standards, we're going to help you with the financial reporting model improvement section. It's not really going to change very much for your financial statements. And I think I can promise you right now that you won't have to do any work for GASB 104. You're already doing all the things that are required in that standard. It was to bring the other local governments that weren't doing things the Raymond way up to par. So with that, I think I'm done with my prepared marks for tonight, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you so much, Mr. Merritt. Appreciate it. I also want to echo back to you with your staff because I did have a call with is it Ms. Harris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's was very kind and welcoming as well. So right back to you and your staff as well.
Yes, and our team puts in several hundred hours of work on our end every year to get the audit done. Krista's team puts in the same number of hours of work, if not more, to get it done. So every business office deserves its flowers. They've got to manage payroll, do grants, complete an audit, manage the budget all at once. Most other larger local governments will have a whole team or multiple departments to do all those functions. Business managers have to do that by themselves in their office. So we really appreciate all the work that Krista and everyone in the business office does to complete the audit with us.
Awesome. I know one of the things that we had received passed as part of this was, and I think probably you mentioned it also with the one graph, was days cash on hand. So what do you like for a benchmark for that as well? That goes back to
days cash on hand. I don't know that I've given out a recommendation in the past about exactly how much cash to have on hand, but I think it roughly equates to the same thing as fund balance. I mean, you want at least 2 months of cash on hand to get, especially to get you through those dry spells that happen both in August and right at the beginning of the year when cash gets a little bit low. So I know Krista is always very careful and conservative when she does borrowing on state aid notes and tries to take all of that into account. So I generally say about 2 months
Okay.
is roughly the equivalent of cash on hand too.
And obviously you didn't do an audit on the sinking fund because we're just starting to receive those funds, but you'll be responsible for the audit for our sinking funds.
That's correct. In future years, when you have sinking fund money, you will that has been spent, you will have a footnote in your financial statements that talks about the requirements for sinking fund audits in the state of Michigan, and we will do a separate, basically, set of work papers on the sinking fund and include that in your financial statement audit.
Are there any high-level things that you've seen in other districts that we should be aware of in regards to sinking fund, or?
The state has gotten a lot more lax with what you can spend sinking fund money on than they were a number of years ago. I don't have it with me, unfortunately, today, but there's like a flow chart where if you look back at 2017 and before, it was like you could use it for construction and repairs and then like nothing else unless they had issued a letter specifically saying that you could. And then you get to the new sinking funds and they go, you can use it for construction and repairs, technology. The only thing you can't use it for is maintenance, ongoing maintenance. And I know that's kind of a blurry line, so I always say if you ever get into a situation where you're unsure, can we spend sinking fund money on this, get counsel involved. They can always give you a good opinion on that.
And then finally, I just want to say thank you to Krista. I mean, it's outstanding that we've received another audit with no significant findings. Just a rollover of a minor issue from last year that we were aware of. So congratulations to you. Thank you so much from the board for all the work that you do. I know it's, some people think, schools have summers off and audit, summer, yeah, you do not. Summers equal audit. So we greatly appreciate your work and all you do, and to get a report like this is absolutely fantastic. So other questions or comments? Mr. Farrell.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question regarding the general fund balance. So I know that you indicated that the unassigned general fund balance was 7.2%, but I just want to confirm that the general fund balance at fiscal year end was 10.45%.
So the general fund balance in total, excluding assigned amounts, was 3.5 million, and I think the unassigned is 2.4 million. And so when I calculate coverage ratio, I almost always calculate based on unassigned amounts because those assigned amounts are usually restricted for specific things. And you're trying to talk about basically free cash flow. But you're correct that the total fund balance number would be higher than the unassigned amount. And if you compared that as a percentage of total expenditures, you would come up with probably about a 10% number. Yeah.
And then I just wanted to note for the community that we did anticipate a deficit of $2.4 million. The actual was 1.589, and that resulted in the district faring better by $815,528. Is that correct?
That sounds correct to me, though. I would have to have Krista confirm that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then on GSB 101, the restatement, it's on page 9. Was $2.7 million, and I know you indicated that was for compensated absences. Is this something that we had not done previously?
Correct. So it wasn't required previously. So basically, the GASB in its wisdom put out a new standard and said, in the past, the rule was you have to accrue as a liability every banked hour by an employee that you would have to pay out when they terminated. And then this year, they changed that rule and they said it's no longer just every dollar you would have to pay out if they terminated. It's also every dollar you think that they're more likely than not, what a legal term, to use during their tenure, which turns it from a pretty precise estimate to a very gray estimate, in my opinion. And then what they said was you have to implement it as of the beginning of the fiscal year that you are in. So you have to restate your beginning numbers as though you did it last year. So Krista had to do the calculation twice, one to come up with the ending liability for this year, and one to come up with the liability as though it had been done last year. So when you see restatement, that's not we didn't do it right last year and we're correcting it now. It's we were required to show the effect of what it would have been last year, and so we do that as a restatement in the financial statements. That doesn't result in any different cash flow for the district. The district has its own rules about what they pay out for employees. It's completely an estimate, and in my humble opinion, not a great estimate. I think the rules were pretty ill-defined by the GASB for how you do this. But it's a complete estimate of what we think people will use plus what they'll get paid out in all years in the future through the existence of time. So.
Thank you for that clarification. And then on the schedule of past adjustments, I just want to confirm again for the community that it was deemed as immaterial. It was a negotiated settlement, as you said earlier. You deemed it as immaterial, and so it was passed for financial statement purposes.
Yeah, so the exact situation that occurred was there was an adjusted settlement. It was in negotiation right up until when we were issuing the audit last year. I think it was like 4 days before the board presentation, the settlement was reached, and we went, okay, well, the case took place during FY24, so technically this is a liability of the district for FY24. But of course, we didn't want to go back in and readjust financial statements 4 days before the board presentation, so we simply said, pay it in 25, expense it in 25, that'll be just fine. You end up in the same place at the end of 25. All amounts and payments have been accounted for. It's quite simply just a timing difference between last fiscal year and this fiscal year.
Yeah, and the dollar amount was 68,000.
Which is deeply immaterial to
and
the district.
and our budget is what, 35 million or something?
Right.
Thank you very much.
Others? All right, so, will you be at our next meeting then too, or not?
No, we will just provide final financial statements and then you'll put them on file.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Any other questions or concerns? Thank you for being here this evening, and you're excused as well.
Thank you very much. My wife's waiting, so.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mr. Merritt.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that does bring us to state aid budget. As Mr. Merritt did point out, a state budget was passed and signed just recently. MASB and MSBO did put on a joint webinar, a 1 hour webinar, just to go over some highlights of it that I attended. And I know Mr. McMahon and Ms. Hendricks have been, attending similar things, talking to their colleagues, trying to figure out exactly what it all means. There are still a lot of questions in regards to it, but I would echo what Mr. Merritt said, and I've heard myself, is that, it's relatively similar to what it's been before in regards to amount. There's some things, obviously there's some differences in how that amount, what makes up that amount. But overall, we have a budget that we can start to work with. So I'll turn it over to Mr. McMahon and Ms. Hendricks.
Thank you, Mr. Sislo. I'll share some notes, and Krista will chime in to correct me, as she's supposed to do. I handed you guys before the meeting a little kind of an outline that I picked up from various resources. Like Mr. Sislo said, there's still a lot of questions, and we don't know a lot of the rules around some of these budgets, but we'll give you our best estimate at this point. So the first 2 pages is kind of a written summary, and then the back page is sort of a accounting of some. So I'll kind of go back and forth. So like Dan mentioned, and you've seen, there was a $442 increase, which that brings the per pupil allotment up to $10,050. So for us, they estimate that as $780,000 additional dollars. However, we've already budgeted $10,000 in, because that was the recommendation from multiple sources. So it's really only a $50 increase per pupil for us, which results in a little under $100,000 increase based on what we anticipated. At risk did go up. That was a 25% increase. We estimate that our share of that will be about $263,000, which we are grateful for. At risk has been underfunded ever since it was created, going back to Prop A. We do have a budgeting tactic where we leverage our carryover in at risk, but it's really good to have more so we can start to spread that out a little bit. So looking forward to that. There is a requirement on that we're going to get more rules on later, but we have to do some sort of accounting about how we spend our at-risk dollars. We have to submit reports all the time to the state of Michigan, but not publicly necessarily. I mean, we will, but and then there's something about getting parent feedback on there that we have to look up and see what the requirements are in that. It could just be at a board meeting, a presentation, possibly. If you jump down to this, there was CTE increase of 4.6%, $2.2 million total. That's about $13,000 for us, so that's a positive. And special education funding went up 5.7%. For us, that's just around $10,000. The special ed funding is for the full allocation of the special ed specific programs. So that number looks good, but we don't have that high of an FTE for fully specified special ed status students. So the MIPSTers, there was a big offset there. If you look on the the spreadsheet, the second to last number there, the cost offset elimination, they're reducing us by $157,000. So this is one of those areas where they're going to say there's a big increase, but then they're pulling back from this other side. Well, we have that budget, and Krista, correct me if I'm wrong, but we already have that budgeted in, about $157,000 in our budget that we expected that we're not getting. So you start to pull away what we already had for an increase, how much that means compared to what they say it means, and the fact that they pulled that money out that we were kind of counting on, that doesn't bode well for us. The school meals is on the middle of that bulleted list on the first page. Of course, that we finally know that that's now provided. It got a little dicey there last week on Wednesday, but we appreciate that. There was a lot of conversation back and forth whether that was going to be in there or not, but it is. And then just looking at these are some extras, but like the small class programs, like that doesn't apply to us. It's only for 6 districts in the state, so they're going to advertise that it's money for everybody, but it really isn't. They anticipate that growing in future years, but it's 6 districts right now. Flip over to the back page. Another additional, it's an amendment to last year's budget, or a supplement to last year's budget. But the last bullet I have there in the first section, the educator compensation program, $350 million. We're not really sure what that means. We anticipate it means that folks that worked for us last year, because it's a supplement to last year's budget, may get some version of a payout. It's one time. It will not impact salaries as far as we know. That's not what we expect. It'd be similar to some of the COVID money that went through, where you can do one-time bonuses, and we have to wait on the rules of who's eligible, how it's paid out. And so we just don't know yet, but that's a significant amount of money, and we appreciate that. But it's for salaries. Well, not for ongoing salaries, but it's for educator compensation. One of the Dan mentioned is, so there are a number of requirements that are being tagged to this budget that we have some concerns about. One that Dan mentioned was the mandatory completion of the free and reduced applications. I wish I should be able to tell you the percentage we get completed, but I would guess 50% would be good. They're saying right now, at least in language, that you have to have 100%. And if you don't get 100%, you lose 5% of your entire state aid. It's not 5% of your meal money, it's 5% of your state aid payments. So that's concerning. We're waiting for MDE to put some rules around that to see exactly what that means. 100%, I would assume would be impossible for any district to get. You have some folks that are hard to reach, some folks that are tied up on emergency. I mean, like there's a lot of reasons why. You could have some people that just want to pause and throw a wrench in the works, and they can. So we got to wait for that. So there's some things on there we're concerned about. We just don't know yet. That's one of them. And then the last page is kind of a summary, quantified summary of some of the bigger things that we have there. But like Dan said in his presentation, and President Sislo mentioned, it's kind of average to where we were. It's a little increase, and they're taking away some of the backside in certain places. We're grateful that it's not a decrease. And I'll say it in my comments, there's always pros and cons to a budget. We're just glad there is a budget, really, and we're not crippled by it. So those, I don't know if that's a ringing endorsement for us. We have one, and it's not really going to kill us. So that's really it. Are there any questions? Or Krista, do you have any additional information?
I think you've covered it all.
Okay.
I have a question for
Yeah.
Krista. So I just want to, the question I have is that it looks like in my review of the budget that several of the programs, including mental health, school safety grants, career and technical education incentives, were moved from ongoing to one-time funding. So while we get it this year, we may not get it in subsequent years, correct?
That is correct. And there are some changes that came with the mental health, the 31AA money. There's some boilerplate language in there. that needs to be reviewed. But yes, anything that is one time may or may not show up in the future, but at this point, I would assume it's not showing up in the future.
And there was another thing that's been tied to the school safety grants, that if you apply for a school grant, you have to sign a waiver that says the governor can appoint anybody that he or she wishes to do an investigation if we have a mass casualty event like Oxford. So that's one of the things that it's part of that requirement, and one of the things that is still up in the air as well. But that was one of the requirements of getting those grants.
We're waiting to hear some rules around that. I didn't bring it up because that's causing some consternation around the state. It's making it a little bit more political than a lot of people think it needs to be. But we're waiting for those rules, so we won't know until that time.
So the other item that I I noticed is that funding for literacy support is down $17 million when compared to the prior fiscal year. And that the state budget also zeroes out funding for early literacy district grants. So I'm wondering what that impact is on the district, if you know.
Yeah, I have that on the back page. At least one of them. I mean, there's multiple different literacy grants out there, but the 35A5 is one that we've been using for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Is that about right? Yeah, 4 or 5 years at least. And that would be a loss of about $24,000 for us. The positions we have that, or the position where we have that tied up right now, can be covered by at-risk, we think. So take that at-risk increase, drop it down 27, and everything stays the same, potentially.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Sislo?
Yeah, Ms. Heike.
I noticed the school safety requirements in the waiver that was going to be required, and I wonder if there was any discussion. I haven't seen any, but if either anyone else has seen any feedback, or if we received any feedback from Troon on whether or not, one, will our insurance carrier allow us to sign such a waiver to get that money? And or does Troon have any advice as to legally what that waiver could mean for us if we signed it?
Unfortunately, we don't have any of that information. It's just way too early to get that guidance. It's being talked about that we need to really dig in and see what this means, but there's no guidance yet.
Michelle, in the MASB meeting that Mr. Sislo and I participated in on Monday, that was brought up, and there's a big question as to whether or not the insurance companies will support it. At this point, I don't think anything has really been said on the legal side of it, but more the insurance coverage side.
I gotta imagine for an insurance payer, that's a serious issue, that the state can send anyone they want in to do an investigation that you may not be privy to, the insurance carrier may not be privy to when they're the ones that are gonna have to pay out. So I suspect that's gonna be a huge issue for any payer.
And it's one that MASB was going to continue to advocate for us to do their best to have it removed. I mean, was one of the final things that was stated at the meeting. So. Others? I guess so. I mean, just looking at this one sheet that you gave, so I mean, over 4%. I mean, we're kind of already at a 4% loss on that, with that MIPSers being taken away. I mean, 4% of what we're given. Yeah. Okay.
And there were some reductions in some return costs too, but the offset, we don't know the actual offset just yet.
Okay. But significant. Yeah. All right. Others? But this, at least, like I said, this gives us a framework so that we can start to negotiations with our staff. Now that we have a better picture of what we're going to do, obviously, hearing the recommendations from Raymond in regards to our fund balance are it's concerning. Even with the assigned fund balance, as Mr. Farrow pointed out, we are at the 10%, which is our board goal. It's we definitely ate into it to reach that point. So, all right, more to come. All right, next up is return to communications and community engagement with public comment. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? All right, this will bring us to student board member comments. I do want to make a quick note that we will have a new student rep, or an additional student rep. Miss Alexis Lozen will be joining us. Mr. McMahon will probably be talking about it, but he'll be giving an orientation to her in the coming week, and she will be joining Miss Heike as our newest student board member rep. So, Miss Heike, do you have anything this evening? Nothing this evening. Anything about homecoming? Anything?
Homecoming was a success. Everyone enjoyed it. We want to thank the teacher volunteers who came out and helped. It was really nice, beautiful night. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Heike. Assistant Superintendent comments, Ms. Bookout.
Thank you, Mr. Sislo. I have a few grant updates to make. The first one is that we submitted our Section 41 report to the state of Michigan. This is an annual required report that we have to submit to the state that documents how we use our bilingual education funds to support English language learners. It's an important accountability piece that makes sure that we continue to have access to that important funding. In addition, I completed our consolidated grant application. Normally, this is something that we complete over the summer, but if you remember back in July, the federal government withdrew some of the funds that had been allocated to us, and so it took a while for some of those funds to be released. So we're happy that they are, and we now have access to those. So we've now applied for Title II and Title IV, which fund our literacy coach at Paddock, and Title III, which also with Section 41 supports our English language learners. I also have an update on our district summative assessment calendar that I shared with the board at Mr. Farrow's request. Within just a few weeks of me sharing that with you, the state made some changes. So I have a new one for you. Some things for us to know. For our 11th grade students, they've changed the work readiness assessment. So instead of ACT work keys, it's now a new program called the WIN Work Ready Assessment. This is a computerized assessment. They both continue to measure essential workplace skills, but the WIN assessment is supposed to be more closely aligned to Michigan's career readiness standards. So we're excited to see what that new assessment will look like and what the reporting will look like for that when we have those results. In addition, the SAT and PSAT window has been expanded from 3 weeks to 4 weeks, which gives us some more flexibility in scheduling in the busy spring testing season. And then finally, I'm excited to share that the Milan Middle School received a school and community habitat grant from Washtenaw County Conservation District. So the grant will support the creation of a pollinator garden in the middle school courtyard. So we're really excited that our students will have that kind of hands-on opportunity to plant and see our local pollinating plants grow over time and to do some additional hands-on science experiments. And I'd like to thank Jenny Crows, who is our 8th grade science teacher, for leading up that application. And also our Milan FFA alumni came in over the summer and helped to clear out that space. So we're glad to have that partnership.
Thank you, Ms. Bookout. Superintendent comments, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, Mr. Sislo. Also on that courtyard, the maintenance department added water to it this year too. They got it plumbed for us. So for my comments, I first want to start by thanking everybody for a fun and event-filled homecoming week. There's a lot of activity. All the buildings were doing the dress-up days, spirit assemblies. It was just a lot going on, and it was great, successful, fun. The kids had fun. It's always a great week to be at Big Red, but Spirit Week, Homecoming Week is just a little extra reminder of how special this place is. So I'm glad it went off the hitch. I'm glad all the administrators went to the parade. I haven't personally walked in the parade in quite a while, so it was fun to get that walk in again. I do want to bring up an awareness or a recognition that this is Mental Health Awareness Week. It's often kind of called Mental Health Awareness Month, and we kind of celebrate it or acknowledge it as such. But I do want to encourage our community and parents to look at our school newsletters, the monthly newsletters. They're full of good resources, help us stewarding good mental health at home as well as at school. I would like to take a second to thank the PTO at the elementary level for the Paddock and Simons Fall Fest last week. I unfortunately was not able to attend. I was tied up here on work, but I heard it was a great event. It was packed. I heard it was really well attended. We appreciate all the effort they put into that, getting that for our students and families. I do want to take a second to acknowledge the passing of the school budget. I mean, there's certainly pros and cons. We just said it. I won't go on long about this, but we're just happy to have a budget, and we're 20% through the year, and at least we now know what we can and cannot spend, or how much money we have, and where we have to budget. So I want to acknowledge that, but I also want to thank our parents and students for the patience during, it was last week during this free meals kind of conundrum where we just didn't know and we had to flex on the spot. And the parents are great. I know it was a tricky time where I was sending out messages left and right and going back and forth. Fortunately, we were able to extend it for the rest of last week, and then it became official this week. So, so now that's done. We can put that to bed. I'm grateful for that. I do want to mention to our community that a reminder of the CTE millage election coming up November 4th. It's important that our families, our parents, go to the WISD website so that we are informed voters. And I also just want to acknowledge that these funds are not just to build CTE opportunities for high school kids, because that's typically where we think of career ed. It's a pre-K through 12th grade initiative, and the goal there is, the outline of that is that we're going to get our youngsters to wonder and become aware about career options, and then even go in depth and explore in at the middle grades, and at the high school they start to prepare and plan for their futures. So that funding can go towards kind of a pre-K lens. I want that to kind of highlight that this time. And the last thing I want to mention is, well, actually, there's two things. I want to thank Krista Hendricks for all her work on the audit. This is a culmination of a ton of work and ton of time she put in. We're grateful for everything she does. Now, the last comment I want to mention is I just want to encourage the Big Red community to keep the school spirit rolling. The fall season is about to wrap up, athletic season anyways. There's a few events left. We have our last home football game this Friday to attend, and we got a big match going on in the gym right now, volleyball against SMCC. So if we wrap things up, we might be able to catch the end of it. So I'll stop rambling, but let's keep the Big Red spirit going. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. McMahon. I agree. I mean, it's the parking lot is full today. So, I mean, there's a lot of events, and it is, I mean, the school is the center of the community, and there's a lot of the community that are here this evening and participating in the activities. So I do want to echo the administrators' newsletters as well. We received them as a board, and they're well done. We appreciate the information that's out there. It's great for us to see what's being communicated, and it's clear that there are a lot of activities and great work that's going on at the school. So we appreciate those newsletters and all the work that's done by our staff and how that's highlighted. I do want to remind folks that we did receive an email from Carrie Mink in regards to FCI graduation, which is going to be Wednesday, November 5th. And if you do want to participate, you need to get that form in and as soon as possible so that you can attend. So make sure that you get that form back to her if you do plan to attend, so that there can be all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed for that. Other board member comments. Ms. Pryor.
I also want to say what a great homecoming it was. It was my first opportunity to walk in the parade. It had got canceled last year. It was a lot of fun to see all the kids out there, the band, the color guard, several different school groups walking in and having a lot of fun. A lot of people came out to watch, so that was impressive. A reminder of some things coming up. Friday is the last football game, but there's also the FFA Hog Roast happening. I think there is still tickets. I heard they plan on allowing people to look at the barn that they've built and the progress they've made. So if you're able to attend, please support that. Though ticket sales go to the kids being able to attend the National FFA Conference. They do raise money so that they can go. I also want to say thank you for the newsletters. They're great because I'm able to look through and see what activities I'm possibly able to attend. So I like being able to have that information. I also want to say thank you to the school, anybody who helped contribute or to raise awareness about the GMACF. We did win that competition for our philanthropy playoffs. I'm very happy about it. We totaled about, with the winnings and what we raised, about $38,000 and that was over a 2-month period to start a new scholarship. Hopefully, we're able to start offering that this year. And we're going to continue to raise for that endowment fund, but thank you to everybody in this town for making that a possibility and so quickly. Also, I'm going to mention the budget. I'm glad that we have one. I'm not going to congratulate the legislatures on doing it 3 months late because they should have done it in July. I'm glad that they, before July. I'm glad they could get one enacted, but, and I know they want to tout how great it is, but with their increase and that they have meals and safety, but they put in requirements that are such that it's going to make difficult for many school districts to actually get the things that they put in there. So they can talk about how great it is and wonderful that we get all this, you have the availability of it. Now jump through hoops to make sure you get those funds and dollars. So that political way of doing it is still not okay and appropriate. So I'm going to encourage everybody, start next year in May, calling your legislatures about what you want to see to actually make our schools work and not make it more difficult for our administrators to report on every single little thing that you need just to give us $1. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Ms. Heike?
Mr. Sislo.
Yeah.
I first also want to thank everyone that marched in the parade. Seeing all the administrators there was great. That has never happened. And thank you to everyone that lined the street.
Yeah.
It was just so nice to see so many people out supporting all the kids and just, enjoying being a big red. And Mr. Midland, I had way more people at my house Saturday than I anticipated. And most of them have kids who are sophomores, and some of them have middle schoolers. And I had 3 different parents come up to me while we were taking pictures, telling me what a palpable difference there is at the middle school in just 5 weeks. They couldn't stop singing your praises. Apparently, you had a dance party in the pickup line they were very excited about. But they also pointed out that in 5 short weeks, you already know every kid's name. People can find you very easily. You're already starting to figure out which kids are related to which kids, which is a lot here in Milan. And immediately I thought, I have been saying for years, how do we clone Sean DeSarbo? And those are exactly the things that I thought were so special about Mr. DeSarbo that apparently you are doing too. So kudos to you and thank you very much for all your hard work. Parents could not stop talking about how fabulous you were. I attended the homecoming pep rally. It's the first time I ever went. It was very loud, but a lot of fun too. And thank you to all the students and all the staff there is a lot of work that clearly goes into organizing that whole week, but particularly the pep rally and the parade. And so thank you particularly to Mrs. Mahaney and Mrs. Gill, because I know that the 2 of them put a ton of work and effort into it. And the kids just were absolutely into it and had a great time. To the freshman class, you totally won the victory cry, except you didn't say any words. You were loud enough, but you were just shouting. So learn the words and you will win next year. I want to congratulate the dance team. They premiered their dance at the pep rally. I know I'm very biased, but I thought it was fabulous. The other part that I thought was super exciting about the pep rally is that all of the cheerleaders that performed, the dance team that performed, all the students that were participating in the activities, everyone was just supporting each other, and there was just a lot of cheering, and it was just very positive. And so I was very proud of our students. The other piece that made me very proud, I was standing up on the track looking down, and in front of me there were 5, maybe 6 students who had parapros that were there with them, and 2 had earphones on. And the number of students that came up, because it was really loud, the number of students that came up and checked on those students to see if they needed anything, to make sure they were okay, encouraging them to participate, really demonstrated to me that our inclusive education is working. I mean, that's exactly what we want to see. And the kids were doing it. I mean, they were truly taking care of each other. And it was so nice to see. So, for everything that people can say that should be improved, we're doing something right. Parents are doing something right. On Saturday, the swim team handily won the county meet. They did a great job. There were very few, maybe one event that they didn't win, maybe two. But they absolutely dominated, and there was at least one event where they won two, maybe two. But it was an incredible meet. So congratulations to them. They're in the home stretch. Just a few more weeks to go. Krista, thank you so much for all your hard work on the audit. If you have to deal with an audit in your professional life, I deal with a lot of them. I'm not a fan of auditors. It's a lot of work. So congratulations to you. And a clean audit is that says something about your abilities as a professional. So thank you very much. Thank you to all of our community members who called and reached out to our state reps and senators about the budget. I know that they were getting calls, and so I appreciate everyone that was participating. The last thing I'm going to say about the budget, because I don't have anything to add that other people haven't said already, but I do want to address, we received a letter from the governor chastising school districts who made the very difficult decision to tell their students that they could no longer pay for free lunches. We did this because we didn't have a budget. So I thought it was quite ironic that we didn't have a budget. We didn't know how much money, if any, we were going to get, which then forced us to make a very hard choice. And then we get a letter from the governor, who is part of the reason we didn't have a budget, chastising us for making that very difficult choice. And I thought the letter was inappropriate, given the role that the governor has played in this. It was misplaced anger. And I think if anyone listened to the audit report tonight, you see that we do not have the cash on hand to plug that kind of a budget hole. And so, those decisions were made above us, and we did what we had to do because we had to consider the entire district. And we just did not have the money to continue that program. I'm grateful that they have continued it with some crazy strings. I don't know how we're going to get every single person to fill out one of those forms. We can't even get kids who qualify to fill out those forms. But I thought that the letter was very inappropriate. I thought that it misplaced anger onto the boards and the superintendents. And I expect better from our governor and hope to not receive another letter like that during the rest of her time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aika. Mr. Farrell.
First, I want to thank Krista. I know I drive you crazy. And I say that all the time. And I know I send you a lot of emails. But you're so professional. You're so organized. You respond promptly. And I'm just so appreciative that you work for our district. And you've been a great partner with the Board of Education and helping us understand and learn as we do the best we can to fulfill our roles. So you get a lot of credit. I give you a lot of credit because you're managing an awful lot of money and a lot of work is dumped in your lap. And so to get a clean audit consistently is really a testament to how hard you work on our behalf. So thank you very much. I did want to mention with regard to our own budget, now that we have a budget, and I think I've been very open and transparent about it with respect to the district's health insurance coverage and the rates in the recent past. So as soon as we have information for the coming year, I do think that it needs to be reviewed very carefully. We need to consider how to address the health insurance costs because they continue to skyrocket. I believe Jen, I hope I'm correct. I read it in the newsletter. On Wednesday, October 15th, all students in grades 9, 10, and 11 will participate in the PSAT for ninth graders or PSAT for 10th and 11th graders. The PSAT is the test students take to qualify for the National Merit Scholar Program. Students should come to school with a charged Chromebook. The test should take about 3 hours to complete, and students will continue with their school day after they finish testing. Okay, that was a great, whoever pulled that together for the newsletter, I appreciate it because I was able to share it with all of you. I also want to thank the district and the community. I'm looking forward to going to the MASB conference. I just appreciate the ability to continue my growth and development as a board member, and I appreciate the opportunity to attend. And then I wanted to plug the Milan soccer team. They won their district match tonight. I'm not sure who they play next, but the soccer program is having a great season. Then finally, I have to comment on Mr. Midland. So I have been on the board for 5 years, and it is really fun watching you with the students in the stands at the football game, and with your trumpet. I just think it says a lot about you, and I'm so glad that you're part of our community, and I just thought it was awesome to see you there, and the way that you interact with the students, and just having fun, because you don't have to be there, and you choose to be there, and so thank you for that. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. Others? Mr. Burdett?
Just gonna echo a lot of things here, but I also wanted to thank Krista for everything that you do. Just the stuff that you do every day. Now you're dealing with auditors, Mr. Farrow asking you a million questions, and now you have to deal with the new guy asking you questions. So, but you always do so very promptly and very professionally. And I just hope you know that we really appreciate everything that you do. Thank you. The parade, homecoming parade, was a lot of fun. It was a very hot, long walk, but it was a lot of fun. And the football game was fun as well. Not the result that we were hoping, but overall it was a good time. And then I was also able to attend the homecoming pep rally, and it's just so much fun seeing the kids in their element doing their thing. The dance team and the cheerleaders were both just incredible, just blew me away. So excellent job there. And I'm just looking forward to seeing if I can catch some of our Big Reds making noise in our upcoming state tournaments. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burdett. Others? Ms. Gutierrez?
I have really nothing to add other than to say thank you to Krista. I mean, we see this year after year about these wonderful audits and how flawless they are. And to see that has been the result in the middle of what has been a very tense couple of weeks with the state budget and the worry that I think we've all lost sleep over about what may come from that. And so to see this tonight and know how professional and competent you are gives us a lot of calmness about our finances here in the district, and we're in really good hands, and I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Ms. Moran?
Okay. All right. I just want to quickly say that I'm sorry again for missing homecoming. I have not yet been in town since being on the board for homecoming, and I just hate it. It's such a busy month for me professionally, and it just always happens to be something going on. But I have been lurking on Facebook and just so enjoying seeing all of the different, district posts and community posts and, seeing former students in their fancy gear and hearing about all the stories. So I'm sorry that I missed it. I'm sorry I wasn't able to see, your antics and performances yet. I will get there, I swear. But thank you to everyone who made it possible, and thank you to our community and our students for making it not only a joyful event, but a safe one that reflects our community so well. Krista, the board has already said it so incredibly well, but I will just add, thank you, thank you, thank you. I learn something or relearn something, because I'm not great at remembering all of these things, every single time you share with us. And I just so appreciate the educator that you are in your role. So thank you for that. You are just an incredible professional, and I'm grateful to work with you. Let me see. I had not yet heard about the middle school courtyard, so I want to briefly thank Ms. Crows, a former colleague of mine, and the FFA alumni, and anyone else involved in securing that grant. When I was a teacher in the science department in the middle school, we tried valiantly to figure something out for those courtyards. And at the time, we did look into a few grants, but I was just at a time in my life when I couldn't really pursue it, and nor could my colleagues. And the answer we kept getting was, it's too much work, it's too much money, and so we'll just keep mowing the grass. And so I am also a pollinator and bee dork, so I'm so excited to hear that that's what's going to go in there. So thank you, and I cannot wait to see, and I'm totally willing to come get my hands dirty. So if you need gardener help, I'm there. Please tell me. I want to quickly welcome Mr. Altavote, and I look forward to making sure that I'm pronouncing that correctly. And just, I noticed on his resume that he studied under Dr. Jerry Blackstone at U of M. You don't have any idea. He's an incredible musician. I got a chance to sing with him very briefly in high school, and I have never forgotten it. So that name leapt off the page at me. So very, very excited to have him on board. Welcome. I too am looking forward to the MASB conference, and I want to thank Sarah Beckman for all of her efforts getting us registered and a place to sleep and all of the things that go into making that conference happen, and to the district for supporting our continuing growth as board members. I always come away with a renewed sense of vigor and a bunch of new ideas when I go. So thank you. Let me see. I too will not spend a whole lot of time talking about the budget, but I do want to note something that hasn't been mentioned yet, which is a 20% cut to the adult education funding at the state level. We just had an incredible presentation by Connie Cox and Carrie Mink last board meeting, testimonials from graduates and current or former inmates who have been able to secure an official diploma through that program. I am deeply frustrated and saddened by that cut, and unsure how we help them move forward. But I didn't want to let this budget conversation tonight go by without mentioning that. And I will echo Ms. Pryor and Ms. Heike that there's no praise coming for me. There's relief, but what they have put us through for the last 3 months is unacceptable, and I have not had enough time to fully digest this budget. But I did attend a meeting at my place of work earlier this week, and the other thing that deeply concerns me is that yet again we're seeing more K through 12 budget money funneling to higher ed, which has been a steady increase incrementally, little by little by little, and they are continuing to make moves in these budgeting procedures that pit K through 12 against higher ed and force us to jockey and tug of war and lobby against one another when we are supposed to be on the same team. So I am deeply frustrated by that as well. So yes, they will parade around and send their letters and whatever else they put out on their social media touting what a great bipartisan budget this is. But here in the state of Michigan, we have a lot of work to do still when it comes to equitable K through 12 funding. So I will leave that there. And I just want to quickly wish, I think it's this coming weekend that our 6th through 9th grade singers are going to the honors choir MSBMA event. So I just want to wish all of those singers a wonderful weekend of performances. They always do so well. And Miss Powell, I hope you have a great time too. And yeah, I think that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. I also want to call out Miss Sarah Beckman. I appreciate your organization. Anytime I call or email, it's met with a very helpful attitude. I know you've had a huge learning curve as part of this position as well. And I sincerely appreciate it. I know this board appreciates it as well, your skills, and we thank you very much. So, other comments? Ms. Hoyga?
I just forgot one thing. The dance team is going to perform at halftime on Friday.
Oh.
So if you didn't see my video on Facebook, come to the football game and you can see them at halftime.
Excellent.
I have one more thing.
Yeah, Ms. Maria.
Yeah, sorry. I had just a little note in here, Mr. Miller. I just wanted to take a minute. I'm so glad that you came tonight because I haven't had a chance to cross paths with you. But just welcome. You have my better half as one of your staff members, and I just want to echo the sentiments that have been shared already here. Although I have not frustratingly had a chance to witness all of the wonderful things that you are doing in our community and with our students, I just want to let you know that I'm hearing about it both, from this vantage point as a board member, but also as a family member of a staff person. So just thank you for, bringing joy and music into MMS. It's a place that's very near and dear to my heart. So thank you and welcome.
Any others? All right, I do need a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to 81C of Michigan Open Meetings Act for negotiation strategies.
Moved by Heike.
Support by Pryor.
It's been moved and supported to enter into closed session pursuant to Section 81C, Michigan Open Meetings Act for negotiation strategies. The only other, there will be no business after when we return from closed session, except for adjournment. Any other questions or comments? Right, it's been moved and supported to enter into closed session pursuant to Section 81C of Michigan Open Meetings Act for negotiation strategies. Ms. Murray?
Thank you. Sislo?
Yes.
Burdette?
Yes.
Farrow?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Heike?
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, we are going into closed session at 8:35 p.m. Thank you for coming. Please drive home safely. All right, we are coming back to open session at 10:22, and we are adjourning at 10:22 p.m.